Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lab 14, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'll share my screen, and we will work through the final lab, which is surface modeling. So first thing we're going to do is so you can access the material through the content section as usual, scrolling down to Lab 14. And downloading this solid part, the Scoop 3D sketch file. Alternatively, you should have in your class folder that you downloaded at the beginning of the semester, if you drill right into Lab 14, you should be able to just open up the sketch right from there. So when you open that part, you will see there's only one sketch in this entire document. So all of this geometry you see here is all in this one 3D sketch. Now, we've worked with 3D sketches a couple times now. However, when we're using surfaces, the sketches can get a little bit more complex. In this case, there are sketches on and every different axis. And what we're going to do is create from this sketch, we're going to create a number of other 3D sketches by converting this geometry. And then we're going to use what's called surfacing tools and surfacing techniques to create this 3D shape of this hood scoop. As you can see, it's only half. So once we have this half modeled, we'll go ahead and mirror it and thicken it so that it's a solid part, and do a shell command like you've done all the way since Lab 6, and that'll be it. So let's go ahead and get started. We don't want this sketch to be editable. So I'm going to right click this sketch and make this a reference sketch. Now, what this is, this geometry cannot be edited. So if I right click this, see, there's not an option to edit this sketch anymore. So you can make it an edit sketch, but we're going to keep it as a reference sketch. Now, go into your sketch command bar here, and we're going to open up a new 3D sketch. Now, with that 3D sketch open, we can come in here and convert the geometry that we need. So we're going to look at each of these closed sections. You should be pretty familiar with the single closed profile that are required for pretty much every feature in SolidWorks. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this large kind of square shaped panel here. And to do that, hold Control and click these 4 lines here, and you'll see there's more selected than just this little square area, and that's okay. So highlight all those lines, click Convert Entities, and you will see that now we have black bolded lines, and we can trim out what we don't need. So grab your trim tool, and we're going to come here like this and just click on the pieces that we don't need until we have a single closed profile. Click the green check mark. Now, we will have to exit this sketch to execute the surface command that we're going to do. If we don't exit the sketch yet, we can come over to surface. And so what we're going to be using is a filled surface, and you can see that that is grayed out right now. So let's go ahead and exit that sketch. And with 3D Sketch 2 selected, click Filled Surface. And you'll see that we are actually creating a surface which is like a plane. It has no thickness. It's just, it's kind of holding the place of this shape in 3D space. So we're going to click the green check mark there. And now we have the first surface panel that we're going to need for this part. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do this triangular panel here, and I'll show you the tool again. And then what I'm going to do is show that you can actually create and isolate all this geometry into individual sketches, and then go ahead and use the tool over and over again instead of doing doing each section at once and then creating the surface. So let's create the surface for this triangular area, and then we'll go ahead and do the rest. So sketch, 3D sketch, hold Control and select the sketches that you need for the geometry. Go ahead and convert, trim, what you don't need. Now we can exit the sketch with 3D Sketch 3 selected. We're going to go into surfaces, filled surface, and there we go. Click the green check mark, and now you have the next component, the next surface panel. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create the 3D sketches that we need for these three components here and for the bottom. So the next four, we're going to go and create all of that or all of those sketches now, and then we're just going to go through and apply the filled surface to all of those new 3D sketches. So let's go back to sketch, 3D sketch, and select the geometry that you need. This one, there will be no trims that we need. So go ahead and convert. Just like that. So now we have 3D Sketch 4. We can see if we hover over that, that's the geometry that we just selected. Now let's do this kind of lower front panel area. So open up a 3D sketch, grab the geometry that you need. Just like that. You can always manipulate the model around if it's not super clear what you're selecting. I know when I was kind of selecting that line there, it was really close to something in the background. So just always, you can rotate, make sure that you have what it is that you need. So we're going to convert those entities, trim what we don't need, and green check mark to close it out. Now, green check mark, and then you have to exit the sketch. Now let's do this side panel area. So sketch, 3D sketch, select what you need here. And you'll see we do not need to trim anything. So let's go ahead and convert and exit that sketch. Now, last but not least, the bottom section here, sketch, 3D sketch, hold Control and select what we need, convert, and exit the sketch. Now from here, I'm going to hide these planes. I don't really like seeing the planes, and you can show them later if you need to, or you can actually also find them when you're in a feature. This turns into like we'll show you here. So like if we go to surface, filled surface. So now we don't have our feature tree. If you needed to select a plane, for example, there's a little drop down that pops up. And now you have access to all these planes. So you can actually select these planes to do mirrors and stuff, which we actually will do shortly. So for the patch boundary, let's go ahead and select 3D sketch number 4. Click the green check mark. And we're going to go ahead and do that same thing 3 more times. Sketch 5, green check mark, filled surface, sketch 6, green check mark. And last but not least, we're going to fill sketch 7. Just like that. And with that, I'm also going to go in and hide. So view, hide and show. I'm just going to turn off sketches so that way we don't see those. And then we also don't have to remember later before we plot, because if you plot with the sketches visible, as many of you have found out already, those sketches will be visible on the PDF, and we don't want that. So now let's go ahead and mirror all of these surfaces. And you see here, we don't have a solid bodies folder yet. We have a surface bodies folder with 6 individual surface bodies. When you create a normal part, just a normal extrusion, this will not say surface bodies, it'll say solid bodies, and there will be something that usually says solid body 1 or extrude 1. So with this, let's go ahead and highlight everything. And we're going to go into features and drill into under linear pattern. We're going to click mirror. And the mirror plane, so now we have our planes turned off. Now we can grab the right plane right from here, just like that. So now we have a mirror plane. And so for features to mirror, go ahead and click in there, and you should be able to highlight everything. It will select all of those surfaces Then we can click the green check mark. Now we have rebuild errors because these are actually not features. These are surfaces, which SolidWorks refers to as bodies. So what we want to do here, go ahead and just delete all of these one by one. Go into the bodies to mirror. Go ahead and highlight everything. And now you'll see that we have a preview showing it fully mirrored. And click the green check mark. Just like that. Now, before we do anything else, we're going to have to do one more filled surface to fill in this front before we can use what's called the knit surface tool, and then to create a solid, and then we're going to go ahead and shell. So before we do that, we need to open up a new 3D sketch. Now, these are a little bit difficult sometimes to grab onto. You kind of have to use a little finesse. So hold Control and just kind of hover right around that line till you find it. Go ahead and click. Both of them are selected. You can convert the entities. Remember, exit the sketch first, or the knit surface tool will be grayed out. Build surface. And with that sketch selected, you'll see the preview. If the sketch wasn't selected originally, before you clicked on the filled surface tool, you can come into 3D Sketch 8, click it here, and that will add it to your patch boundary filled surface dialog box. Click the green check mark. And now you'll see up in our surface bodies, we have 13 different surface bodies. Now we're going to go up and grab our knit surface tool. And in the selections dialog, we're going to grab every single one of those surfaces. So all 13 of those surfaces should be selected, and you can verify that in your little toolbar here. Everything should be selected. We are going to create a solid. Make sure that box is selected. Otherwise, it'll take all of those surfaces, combine them into one, but it'll still be hollow. And our knitting tolerance should be fine. Just leave it like that. And green check mark. Now, instead of a surface bodies folder, we have a solid bodies folder. And that solid body is called Surface Knit 2 or Surface Knit 1, depends on your computer. And we can also check to make sure that this is solid by clicking section view. And we can see all the way through this part, we have a solid form. Now, only one more thing to do here. We are going to do a shell command. So that'll be in features. Remember, you've done this a number of times before now. And what we're going to do is select the front face here, and then both of these bottom panels, which really is just one. There's just a line because we did that mirror. Go ahead and select all that and click shell. And because we have these really tiny little sharp points in here, we have to make our shell parameters very, very small. So we're going to make this 0.001. Click the green check mark. And there we go. So this is it looks kind of like it did when we had it as a surface. If I drag this back, when we take this section, it's very, very thin. However, it does have a thickness of 0.001. Kind of hard to see. There we go. Just like that. So it does have a thickness. It's a solid body. And this is what you need to do, or this is what you need to submit. So go ahead and plot this just as kind of an isometric view. Something like this would be fine. Save it and plot it on your PDF. And this is what you submit as a PDF. No dimensions necessary. And with that, we are done with lab 14 and the final lab of our class. Great job this semester, everyone, and good luck on the final exam.